Hey, what is up guys? Welcome back to another video, and in this video we are going to be continuing with our HTML tutorial series. And in this video we're going to be talking about quite a few different elements. These elements are elements that were added into HTML5 to help us section our content on our pages a little bit easier. And they were also added to improve accessibility on the web. And so I'm talking about the elements that are currently in a comma-separated list on the page at the moment to kind of show you to show you the names of the elements we'll be using. So we will be taking a look at the header element, the nav element, the aside element, the article element, the main element, the section element, and the footer element. Now, each of these has their own separate. Each of these has their own separate, ways of using it, and they're all semantic. So the a screen reader will tell you, okay, you're in a header or you're in a navigation or something. So let's get started by talking about the header element. Now, the header element is generally something you find at the top of a web page. This can include some kind of header image, but you will also find that navigations are inside of headers as well. I generally use the header for the navigation bar. So that's generally what that's used for. It's for header content like images and like header hero images or navigations and stuff. The navigation element, or the nav element, is used for navigation bars. These don't have to be horizontal. They can be side bars as well. The nav element can also be used in asides if you want a vertical navigation bar, but generally navs most commonly are used for horizontal navigations. The next element that we're going to talk about, let's see. First, I'm going to delete the ones that we've already talked about. So the next one that we're going to talk about is the aside element. Now, the aside element is generally used for content that's on the sides of the web pages, like additional notes or something like that in an article, or sidebar navigations. Sometimes you'll find advertisements inside of these aside elements, that kind of stuff. They're used for sidebars. They can also be used for mobile navigations if you want, but generally speaking, that's not their purpose. So that is the aside element. The next element we're going to talk about is the main element. Now, the main element is, as the name implies, used for the main content of your page. And these are used in conjunction with links that are known as skip to main content links. That's another accessibility thing. That your screen reader focuses on that link which is off screen. You click it and it jumps to the main element, to the main content of the page. So the main content of your page, like your blog post, inside of an article element or something like that. All that kind of stuff should be in the main element. Now, the next element is the article element. And so, what exactly is the article element then? Well, the article element is exactly what it implies. It's used for articles, for blog posts, any like large body of informational text, or stuff like that. That's what the article element is used for. Primarily, you see it on news sites and blogs. Those are the biggest uses for it. When you're rendering a blog post or a news article. The next element is section. Now, the section element is most of the time used inside of the article element to separate the article into different sections. So let's say your article covers various aspects of a video game. Like you have a news article that covers different aspects of a newly released or upcoming release of a video game. You're going to want to separate that into sections, and the section element is perfect for that. That's kind of what that's used for. The next element and final element that we'll talk about in this video is the footer. The footer element allows you to essentially go and create footer content. Like if you want to include a sitemap or something down at the bottom, you can do that. You want to include copyright information, that generally goes in the footer. You want to have extra navigation links down in the footer, you can do that too. You want to have a company logo or something down there, you can do that too. So the footer is used for that. Right. So now that we've actually talked about them and what they're used for, how do we even use them on the page then? Well, let's build out the basic skeleton of a web page that uses these. So inside the body, let's say we want to have a header, and this header is going to have a navigation bar. Well, we do header like that, and inside of there should be a nav. And inside that nav, we would have like a unordered list or a ordered list or just a bunch of links that we can style. Next, let's say we're creating a news site that has a bunch of articles in a sidebar, like recommended things you should read next. That will be in an aside, like that. And this will be another navigation, so we can have a navigation there. Now we can have our main element. This will contain the main content of the page. And so with the main content of the page, we are going to want to have a skip to main content link referencing this. We're not going to do that specific link part of it because we haven't learned that element yet. But generally speaking, you use it referencing an attribute called ID. So ID, we'll say main content. Now, what does this ID attribute do? Well, this provides this allows you to specify a unique identifier for your element. This is often used for links that jump through the page and all that, like a table of contents or something. They're also used for styling, if you want to dial in styling for a specific element instead of just all elements of the same type and all that. That's what IDs are generally used for. They're supposed to be unique. There's nothing stopping you from using the same ID on multiple elements, but best practice is to keep them unique. And so inside of our main element then, this is where this is where you put the main content of your page, like your articles, your sections, all that stuff. So the article itself would be specified like this: article. And let's say this article has 4 sections. We can generate 4 section elements at the same time in VS Code by saying section asterisk 4. Hit tab. And boom, there you go. We now have 4 section elements in our article. So if we go ahead and save our code, now that we have our section elements, we're going to put in the footer. Right. So if I can find where we need to be. Okay. Okay, so below the main element, we need to have a footer. And this footer can have, say, some copyright information. So copyright, let's say, Joshua 2023. Right. Now, when we look at this page in the code, the only thing that you're going to see is the copyright Joshua 2023 text. And the reason for that is because there's no specific visual styling to these sectioning elements that you have to do in CSS. And all that stuff. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't use them. Use them. They are important to semantic accessible HTML. So all your users will be able to easily navigate your page. Many users navigate by headers. Some by navigation, some by links, some by headers, some by articles, some by sections of those articles. So it provides a great experience for all users. Let's save the document now. Now let's go into Edge. Let's refresh this. And you can see, like I mentioned, the only content you're going to see is the copyright Joshua 2023 stuff. And that's because that's in the footer, right? That's actual text. The rest of the elements, the header, the main, the nav, the asides, the sections, the articles, all that stuff is invisible. But if you put text content in those elements, you will see the text content. And I'll let you play around with that. For now, that is the end of this video. Thank you all so very much for watching, and we will see you all in the next one.